So it's nearly the end of January now, and Shelley's just completed her third week of the training. And this week she actually did 2 walks. One was the shorter 1 hour walk, and she did that on the same route as she did for her very first practice walk. When she did that, of course, she did it in 4.35 miles for the hour, and this time she's now done it in 4.53 miles. So her speed has definitely increased, and even more impressive today was the fact that it was even windier than it was the first time. I think that's one of the things that we're quite fortunate with in a perverse sort of way, is that here on the island we get a lot of wind, so mostly the training is done against the wind, which is an added benefit when you're training because it'll make you more hardy, I think. So that was the short walk that she did this week, and the long walk that she did, if you remember last week, she did 11 miles, and with this week she actually did 13. So effectively she's now up to the half marathon distance in only her third week of her training. And for this one, what I did is I took her out on a course that was with more elevation than previous, and just to add a little bit of extra difficulty, she went out in the dark. So this enabled her to get used to walking in the dark, obviously, and using the head torch, because when she does the actual race in June, after she gets certainly past Lazaire and through Ramsey for the back part of the course, it's going to be dark for her. So I think it's good to do some practice in the dark to get used to how it feels when you're actually out in the dark, particularly in the countryside where there's no street lights. And as it happens on this occasion, there was massive cloud cover and she needed the head torch, so she couldn't see beyond the illumination of the head torch, which is one of the main things when you're doing the walk. You can only see as far as your light source. You can't see like the hills coming. You can't really gauge how fast you're going because there's nothing to give you a sense of speed as you're going. So there was those elements which added to the difficulty of this week's walk for her. But nonetheless, she did it. She did the full 13 miles, and she didn't complain at 9 like she did last week, and she didn't complain at 11 like last week was the total distance she made. This week, in fact, when she got to 11, she was actually quite elated and commented she'd reached 11 and still felt strong. So that shows the progression that you can have just bit by bit each week. So she did the 13 miles, and those miles were done obviously with her existing shoes that she's used for these past 3 weeks.
I've bought another pair of trainers. The pair I've got are fine, they're really comfortable, they fit me perfectly, but the issue is they fit too perfectly, so there's no room for my feet to swell in them. And of course, as soon as I start doing the longer mileage, naturally the feet will swell. So in order to avoid discomfort and blisters, etc., I've bought the same model of training shoe, because that is comfortable for me, but I've bought it in a size bigger, which will allow room for my feet to swell, and it'll also allow room for the double pair of socks that I'm going to be wearing as well. And the second thing I've purchased is 2 pairs of elastic laces. Already I can feel that it's a tricky thing to actually, it sounds simple, but to tie your laces the right amount so they're not too, so the shoes aren't too loose, but equally they're not too tight. And already I've started to feel that I'm tying them a little bit too tight, so that's not going to allow for any movement when my feet swell, which over a longer distance will cause issues in itself.
So now I've got the job of lacing up those new shoes with the elastic laces, and I'll be honest, it's a pain. They are awkward to put in, they're very time consuming, they're very fiddly, but they are worth having. So I'd certainly recommend, if you haven't seen it yet, check out the video that I did on how I avoid getting any blisters on any of my endurance walks. And the elastic laces are one of the factors that contribute to me not getting blisters. So it is important, and it's one of those things that if you look into it will certainly help you. So that's what I've got to look forward to this week, is putting the laces in, and then she'll be using these new shoes for the ongoing long walks that we do, which are going to steadily increase more in mileage as well. And the existing shoes, which they're the same brand, same model, they're just slightly bigger, these new ones. And she'll use the old pair, which aren't well used anyways, but the existing pair, should I say, she'll continue to use those for the shorter, faster training walks. So she'll be able to get a balance between using both of them. And yeah, so that's this week, and I'll keep you updated in the next video.